We can begin now. You can begin recording now. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ronald B. Saunders, president of the Dr. Edna B. McKenzie branch of Western Pennsylvania. To all the folks around the world, friends around the country, relatives, general public, hello. Our Black History theme for 2026, Black History theme executive summary. 2026 marks a century of national commemorations of Black history. Dr. Carter Goodwin Woodson, George Cleveland Hall, William D. Hartgrove, Jesse E. Moreland, Alexander Jackson, and James Stamps institutionalized the teaching, study, and dissemination and commemoration of Black history when they founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History on September the 9th, 1915. In 1925, when Dr. Carter G. Woodson planned the inaugural week-long observance of Black history, he could have hardly anticipated the imprint he would leave on the world. From Negro History Week to Black History Month, ASALA has carried forth the tradition, and observances have become part of the woof and wrap of American culture, increasingly the global community. For it's the 100th theme, the founders of Black History Month urges us to explore the impact, the meaning of Black history in life, the commemorations in transforming the status of Black peoples in the modern world. And as I said before, we're all connected to the oldest learned society in the world, strictly devoted to the study and research and education of African American history and culture, as well as in the African diaspora. So how special is that to be connected with an organization started in 1915 by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the recognized father of Black history? The mission of ASALA is to promote, research, preserve, interpret, and disseminate information about Black life and history and culture to the global community. And we're going to sit back and have a great, outstanding lecture presentation by Sister Anita. And it's titled Reimagine, a platform of personal transformation, community engagement, and collective liberation. But before we go into that, and Alana making her announcement, we're going to go to Brother Welsh, who will give the invocation, followed by our song, Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Thank you again, Mr. Saunders. Let us bow in prayer. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who has brought us along the way, it is to you that we recognize that we live, and it's in you that we move and have our being. As we continue with this program, where we are called to reimagine ourselves and prepare ourselves for collective liberation, we pray, God, that we can move with a renewal of our minds, the same minds that our ancestors had, where they were able to march together, work together, cry together, learn together for the advancement of civil rights and the liberation of our people. We pray, God, for our presenter, Miss Anita Russell, as she brings a challenging and what we believe to be a transformative lesson. And as I was reminded earlier about the lack of collective energy amongst our clergy, we pray, God, that maybe this could be a catalyst that will allow us to not only revisit the days of old, but reimagine our current days with that same energy and vigor, moved by the Spirit of God. So bless us now. We offer this prayer in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you. And before Alana introduces Anita, Alana Carter Donaldson, our esteemed historian, I have a small token of appreciation for Brother Travis. Uh, this is a plaque, Dr. Artie Lee Travis, Vice President for Student Affairs, Frostburg State University, in recognition of your retirement and distinguished service, inclusive leadership, and unwavering dedication to student success, presented by the Dr. Edna B. McKenzie Branch, Association for the Study of African American Life and History, 2025. And we will present this plaque, send this plaque to Brother Travis, who is not with us today. That's my understanding. And thank you. Alana J. Carter Donaldson. Alana's holding it down. Alana, been with us since 2019. Alana Carter Donaldson. Alana, you want to introduce Sister Anita now. Thank you, Alana.
Good morning, everyone, and I do apologize. My camera is unfortunately not working, but I would like to share the very fascinating bio of Miss Anita Russell. Miss Anita Russell is a transformation coach, social impact leader, and the founder of A Place to SOAR. Her work bridges personal development and community liberation, helping people move from awareness to empowered action. Through workshops, writing, and her InflexionPoint Podcast, she guides individuals and communities in reclaiming agency, healing internal narratives, and building collective power. Anita is also an author whose signature message, Cultivating Change from the Inside Out, calls people to awaken, act, and lead with purpose. She brings a liberatory voice rooted in justice, spirituality, cooperative economics, and cultural truth-telling. And without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Miss Russell.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's been quite a while for me. I took a little bit of a hiatus for a while, just had some things going on in the background and my personal life and all of that. But I am so excited to be sort of jump-starting the year for Asala as we move into this very interesting year. So I am going to share my screen. I don't have a lot of slides. It's not very slide heavy. So I just need the host to enable me to share my screen. So the title of this, Reimagine We, a platform for personal transformation, community engagement, and collective empowerment, is kind of like the story of my evolution. So that's what I want to share with you, is this story of how I evolved and got to the place where I am now, not necessarily from the professional perspective, but more from the perspective of who I am in my personhood, my connection to community, and all that sort of thing. So since the murder of George Floyd, there have been 4 things that have been kind of these milestone events in my life. As a matter of fact, Ron and I were talking the other day as we were kind of discussing this presentation, and he actually brought part of this up for me, right? And so back in 2020, I had a conversation with my daughter, one of my daughters, who was preparing for a Black Lives Matter protest in Pittsburgh with her sister and a cousin. And a very powerful question came out of that discussion. One of the things that we realized is that in our family, from my mom to me and now to my daughters, that's 3 generations of people protesting, resisting, and all of that. And the question that came up was related to my daughter Olivia is her name. Her son, not her grandson, my grandson, her son Cairo, who at the time when we had this conversation was literally about 3 or 4 months old, right? And the question was, will Cairo have to protest in his lifetime for the birthright to freely and peacefully exist in the skin in which he was born? So that question it like ignited something in me. And as I was, sort of absorbing all of that and watching what's going on with the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement and all of these different things and, people who had been killed prior to prior to the murder of George Floyd, all of this stuff was just kind of stirring up inside of me. And then in 2021, I read a book. I read the book, The Conversation: How Seeking and Speaking the Truth About Racism Can Radically Transform Individuals and Organizations. And this book was written by Dr. Robert Livingston, who is a social psychologist and a Harvard professor. And he became my hero. He instantly became my hero because he gave me a framework to kind of take all of this energy and this stuff that I was feeling inside of me and put something together that could be very impactful. And so that book really gave me deep insight into anti-racism activation through community conversations and kind of addressing three profoundly simple questions. What is racism? Why should everyone be more concerned about it? And what can we do to eradicate it? So that book kind of moved me in a very different kind of my own personal empowerment direction, if you will. And after reading The Conversation, what flowed out of that between the Cairo question and reading this book is when I established InflexionPoint Podcast on Transformation Talk Radio. And again, my focus was threefold: personal transformation based on my book, Cultivating Change from the Inside Out, The Power of Being Human, which is something that I had written years prior, but all of a sudden now it's really, really relevant to the work that I'm doing now, and community conversations and addressing the Cairo question. And that show was launched in 2021, and we are still there. We just opened up our new year, and for this year our focus is on Reimagine We. But then things started to take a change, right? There was a major shift in light of the 2024 election. So everything started to just go in a different direction. It felt like things were sliding back downhill, and we're trying to push that boulder up all over again. Books were being banned, DEI being attacked, and all of this stuff that was happening. In today's climate, Dr. Livingston raises a different question in his newest book, Play the Game, Change the Game, Leave the Game: Pathways to Black Empowerment, Prosperity, and Joy. He completely flipped the script, asking instead, how can Black people attain prosperity and peace of mind despite the enduring presence of racism? So he took the conversation in a completely different direction, which was very empowering for me. And so the question is, what does my journey forward now look like? Or not just me, but this journey forward that we're on, given this shift from anti-racism to Black empowerment, right? And so I'm going to just kind of go through some of the main premises of the book and just why it impacted me the way that it did. And so if you break the title down, you have Play the Game. And he defines playing the game as finding those ways to work within mainstream systems, predominantly white systems, without sacrificing your identity, your dignity, your psychological safety, and all of those types of things. So how do we play this game without harming ourselves in the process, which is really quite challenging, because when you think about it, harming us is built into the game itself. So it becomes very challenging when you think about, how do I maneuver? How do I manage myself and get ahead, the things that I want to do, the things that I want to accomplish? How do I do that given the game that's being played, right? And then the second aspect of it is change the game. And that is to challenge the status quo in an effort to upend that white supremacy through things like anti-racism activation, community engagement, and grassroots movement. So these things became my calling call, right? And then the final post, if you will, is leave the game. And that is to turn away from white environments to carve out spaces. So this is not turning away from a hate perspective. This is turning away from an empowerment perspective and creating these spaces where Black people can actually flourish. We're talking like HBCUs and entrepreneurship, the creation of Black enclaves and things like that, things that really can empower us as we continue to be under the umbrella, if you will, of all of this stuff, or under the cloud, I should say, of all of this stuff. So what he was doing was giving us an umbrella. It was an umbrella that we can now begin to use in a different kind of way, as all of this stuff from the top is just raining down on us every single day. And so that when I first saw the book, it was I saw information about the book before the book actually came out. And when I initially saw the title, this is with no information, what it's about or anything. When I initially saw the title, what I thought to myself was, where do I lay? When I think about my corporate career, I had like a almost 25-year career in the pharmaceutical industry. So I started asking myself, where did I fit in this play the game, change the game, or leave the game scheme, right? And what I began to understand about myself was playing the game was just not my forte. And the reason I say that is because when I look back on the work that I did in my corporate environment, playing the game was just not my thing. I was not the assimilationist. I refused to leave parts of my identity at the door in order for me to come into this corporate space. I led the African American Affinity Group and all of that. So when I started reviewing myself, I came to understand that in corporate America, I was kind of in that role of changing the game, challenging that status quo. And when I think about where I am now in terms of I no longer work in corporate America, I haven't worked in corporate America since 2013. I've been just kind of doing my own thing. And I came to understand that that movement out of corporate America was symbolic of me leaving the game. And that was kind of turning away from those environments, as I mentioned earlier, and being in spaces where Black people can actually flourish. And so there's two other scholars who have helped my evolution. And the first one is Jessica Gordon Nembhard. She's the author of Collective Courage, A History of American Cooperative Economics, Thought and Practice. And here's a quote from that book. This study attempts to show how these individuals and organizations contributed to the development and philosophy of the African American co-op movement, as well as the kinds of impact cooperative practices have on Black communities. We've seen that before. When you think about Rosewood and you think about Black Wall Street, all and other cities where we were prospering. We were Seneca Village. We were prospering, and we were doing our thing, and we were doing our thing for the benefit of us, right? And then the second scholar is Ezra Aharon. He's the author of Sovereign Psyche: Systems of Chattel Freedom versus Self-Authentic Freedom. And the quote from his book that really resonated with me is, there is a need for Black/African people to strengthen the potency and target the end uses of our own intellect and willpower more deliberately towards solutions and development using time-tested sovereign methods that work. Right? And so I'm absorbing all of this information as I'm absorbing all of this information, I'm following my own advice and allowing change to be cultivated within myself. How do I do my work? And on a very personal level, I was asking myself, where do I currently stand? Right? And at one time, I looked at myself as having one foot in change the game, while the other foot was solidly planted in leave the game. But I'm kind of now in that place where I've actually left the game And my focus is on economic power through a very different lens. And that economic power referring to the ability of an individual, a group, or a nation to influence or control economic resources and activities and outcomes is derived from various factors, including wealth, control over resources, productive capacity, or influence over financial and economic systems. So this is the evolution of me and my work. But then on the other hand, cooperative economics refers to an economic power model where individuals and groups work together to achieve that mutual benefit, often emphasizing shared ownership, democratic decision-making, and equitable distribution of resources. The concept promotes collaboration rather than competition, aiming to address economic disparities and empower communities. So I am a member of the Ujima Collective, and I have made the shift to cooperative economics. The concept of Ujima has its roots in Tanzania and is borrowed from the fourth principle of Kwanzaa. So in the context of the African diaspora, cooperative economics encourages collective work and responsibility to build community wealth and self-sufficiency. So on a personal level, I've made that decision to be the change that I want to see. The Reimagine We platform grew out of that decision. So I'm going to move my presentation forward a bit. And I want to start talking about this concept that I've mentioned, Reimagine. Reimagine We begins with Reimagine Me. And it is a platform for personal transformation, community engagement, and collective empowerment. And I've created the Reimagine We Declaration of Engagement, which I would like to share at this point. We live in a world that is built on extraction, not relationship. It was designed to consume people, land, labor, and spirit in the name of profit, power, and dominance. It taught us competition instead of cooperation, hoarding instead of sharing, and alienation instead of belonging. It told us that our worth is measured by productivity, that our humanity is conditional, and that some lives are disposable. Reimagine We rejects the principles of extraction and embraces the principles of relationship, engagement, and connection. Key principles of healthy relationships include things like mutual respect, trust, affection, understanding and addressing each other's needs, effective communication, conflict resolution. These are things that are essential for building strong connections. Reimagine We also reflects the belief that cooperation is the future of freedom. The myth of rugged individualism has been used to fracture communities while wealth concentrates at the top. We are not meant to survive alone. We are meant to thrive together. Reimagine Me advances cooperative economics, shared leadership, mutual aid, collective creativity, and community-owned futures. Not because it's trendy, but because it's actually how life should work. So Reimagine Me does not fight against people. The intention is to dismantle systems. It refuses the lie that says our neighbor is our enemy. Racism, patriarchy, colonialism, capitalism, and political manipulation all thrive by turning us against one another. Reimagine We exposes manufactured division, selective empathy, narrative control, and trauma-based politics. It chooses truth over tribalism and the us versus them mentality. The foundational belief of Reimagine Me is that reimagining we begins with reimagining me. And so now it starts to get into this space of where am I? Where do I stand? What am I doing? Who am I supporting? Every healed mind, every awakened heart, and every courageous voice reshapes collaboration. We're not spectators. We are co-creators in our own future. And there's power in that. So this is our declaration. We are done with disposable people, extractive economics, weaponized identity, inherited trauma, and false hierarchies. Instead, we choose dignity, engagement, cooperation, sovereignty, healing, truth, courage, community, and cooperation. This is the space that I'm living in now as a result of all of these things that have influenced me over years of my life. We are Reimagine We. Each one of us plays a role in reimagining the future, reimagining what is life going to look like when Cairo is 17. He's getting ready to turn 6. He's in school. He's in a phenomenal Black community school where teachers support him. He gets exactly what he needs as a 5-year-old kid. And he's brilliant. And he's not the only one. And so what we do, people like us in these leadership positions and organizations and working in communities, we have the potential to reimagine something very different. And though all of this stuff up here continues to rain down on us, we can put up a different umbrella to move ourselves collectively in a very different direction. So we are Reimagine We, not because we all agree, but because we all belong. And not because we are all the same, but because our differences make us stronger. Not because the world isn't ready, but because we are ready. So Reimagine We begins with Reimagine Me. So I want to shift the conversation a little bit and talk about all of this stuff that I'm doing and all of the community partners and programs and things like that that I have. And I have to say that I did not put Asala on this list because the truth of the matter is so much of what I do has been ignited by my presence in this organization. So I humbly apologize that that was not listed there because that really should have been the first item on my list. Because in this organization, and I've been a part of Asala probably since like 2017, 18 or so. And it really has been a source of energy for me, a source of gaining more and more knowledge and helping me to understand what is my role that I can play in all of this. And so I want to humbly thank all of the members of Asala, the leadership, and everything for the way that you have supported me in reflecting this idea of Reimagine We. So I want to start with Ujamaa Collective. So just like I got connected to Asala very early on, so part of my history, if you will, is the fact that I mentioned earlier that I worked in the pharmaceutical industry. And what that meant was I left Pittsburgh. So I left Pittsburgh like in 1988. Packed up my daughter, my family and everything, and we moved to the New Jersey area, right? And I began my career in the pharmaceutical industry. And as I mentioned earlier, I stayed in the industry for, I think I came close to hitting 24 years in the industry. And when I think back on what I did in that space, it was pretty amazing, right? And as I had mentioned earlier, I was not that check part of my identity at the door kind of person. I came in fully, this is who I am, right? And in the roles that I played a role as a scientist, right? A research scientist. I was in drug discovery. But at the same time, I was a community scientist for the city of Trenton. And this was during a time when there was a lot of talk about reforming education, science education reform, and all of that. And I became the community scientist for the city of Trenton in the work that I was doing with that particular school district. So here again, it's this idea of I'm in this space, but I'm bringing my whole self into this space. And by virtue of me being in this space, it's given me the opportunity to do a whole lot of stuff in the community. Another, very early on when I started, one of the scientists there, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Harris, approached me one day and said, I see you're new to the organization, so let me school you on some of the things that we do. And one of the things that he schooled me on was a program called the Granville Academy program. And so I ended up getting involved in that program, helped them to revamp. It was a 5-year business education program. I helped them to sort of reinvent that program to make it work a little bit better for the students as they're moving through the process. So I had that. So I'm, a scientist in the lab, but I've got deep roots in the community and being engaged in the community. I taught at the Young Scholars program for about maybe the summer. I think it was like a few months over the summer, and I did their Science on Saturday program. So again, my connection to community engagement, right? So then when I left corporate America and eventually I made my way back to Pittsburgh, my mom got sick, so I ended up being here. And one of the things that I realized when I came back to Pittsburgh is I had no business contacts because I hadn't been here for literally 30 years. I had not lived in the city of Pittsburgh. I was doing all this incredible stuff in the New Jersey area, some things in New York and all of that, but I had no contacts in the city of Pittsburgh. So 2 things happened. One was I joined an organization called OMA, right? And this is it's a nonprofit organization that I got connected to. I also got connected to Ujima, and I also got connected to Asala. So I had these 3 chunks, and I just had, because I had made a decision that because I don't have a lot of business contacts, but I also in my past did a lot of stuff in the nonprofit world. So let me just start in the nonprofit space in the city of Pittsburgh. So that's what I did. And another organization that I got connected to under that same thinking was the Homeless Children's Education Fund. And so me being sort of knee deep, if you will, in these different community-based organizations became my calling card in the city of Pittsburgh, right? And so when I found out about the Homeless Children's Education Fund, I went to meet them, and it turns out that they were in the same building as Ujima Collective. And so when I walked into the building, Ujima was the first thing that I saw, and I was immediately drawn in. So now I have the Homeless Children's Education Fund. Now I got this new thing called Ujima. And then I found out in that same building, there was a woman that did locks. So now I got a hairdresser. And the point being, all of that was defining who I was and who I wanted to be. But it was also demonstrating the power of community engagement when it comes to us. Not at the detriment or destruction of anybody else, but from the perspective of empowering us. And so I look at my life as an example of that. So now here I am, Ujima Collective, getting involved in that. And if you're not familiar with that, it's a nonprofit artisan boutique that serves Africana women, providing cultural, artistic, entrepreneurial exchanges in the historic Hill District area. I am still to this day very much connected with Ujima. I'm now a member of the organization. In the beginning, I was like a general member and I shopped there. I had my books there. But now I'm working very closely with the leadership at Ujima and really, really looking at how we're going to do some of the things that we're talking about with this Reimagine we. And so when I presented this idea, this whole concept of reimagining we begins with reimagine me, I went to Ujima. I sat down with them, presented the whole entire concept and some programs that I had developed in connection to the actual concept. They embraced it right away, which was very gratifying for me, and they've been very supportive. And now they are my partner in moving this work forward. And so they're my partner. And through Ujima, I also connected with Mocha on Soho, right? Which is an art gallery that is dedicated to the creative artists and things like that in the city of Pittsburgh. So now that I'm connected to Ujima and I got their buy-in, we're partnering on some of the things that I'm going to talk about in a moment. We're partnering on that. And then in the process, I said, well, I need a place because I'm going to be doing some workshops and I need a public space. Where can I do that? And so they pointed me in the direction of Mocha and Mama Charlotte and her husband and their gallery. So now I have space where I'm going to be able to operate my programs, deliver these programs. And it's just, when I think about it, sometimes it takes my breath away because I am just one example of people who move in this type of space, move in these directions, move in these cooperative spaces, moving in empowerment and community engagement. So if you take me and multiply it across all the people that are doing very similar work, we have so much power. And I think we sometimes forget the power that we have, the power that we have accumulated through Sankofa experiences, generationally, going all the way back. When I talked about that generational theme, when I had that conversation with my daughters, I could take it back personally to my mom. But from a community perspective, from the perspective of who we are collectively as people, I can take it all the way back to 1619, all the way back to slave ships, all the way back. I did my genealogy and I found out that I come from the Temne people. And now I can root myself in that as well. And so I think when we think about who we are, it's not just about who we are in our current life, but it's who we are as a result of past lives and past experiences that funnel them way right into me and the work that I do today. And so it's very humbling. I feel very humbled when I think about all of the people that have poured into me over the course of time. And I just thought about the Greenwood Plan in Emerald City, another organization that's on the same plane with working cooperatively. So we've got all of these pillars, if you will, in the city of Pittsburgh. But we also have these pillars in other cities all across the country. We have all of these pillars and we all carry the same umbrella, right? So the more we come together, the more we can empower ourselves, the more we can accomplish. And so when I think about that Cairo question, Originally, the Cairo question was, will Cairo have to protest in his lifetime for the birthright to freely and peacefully exist? And I'd say the question is yes. Because my grandson is being raised up to be a powerhouse as a young man. So he's automatically going to be a part of the resistance because he's being taught who he is. And there's no question that he's being taught who he is. So when I look at him times all of the kids that go to his school, the Sisulu Walker Charter School in New York City, right in the heart of Harlem. And he's getting what he needs to grow and thrive and think, be a critical thinker. He's getting that, and he's only 5. So again, when you multiply that across our community, across their country, there's so much power that we have. And it's sometimes heartbreaking when I see people who talk as if we have no power. We have so much power. And collectively, when we lock arms, we're locking arms to empower one another. And that's what my work is all about, empowering one another. And so you see a couple of things on the screen here. The Reimagine Me, 6 Keys to Nurture, Grow, and Empower Your Life. And also the Reimagine We Empowerment Lab, right? The 6 keys is designed to be kind of a sneak peek into what the Reimagine We Empowerment Lab is all about. And so I'm giving people the opportunity, there's no charge for that, to just kind of see what we can do when we begin to reimagine me, right? Because those 6 keys are the opportunity for people to go inward. What are the thoughts and beliefs and ideas that are embedded in me, that have been embedded in me over the course of my life? And those things, what do I look like when I come to the table of empowerment? And then the second one is a lab. It's a 12-month experiential learning program that I put together for the purposes of moving individuals from where they are into this personal transformation and into this community engagement and into this cooperative economics. So I'm taking a year to develop people along that line. And so Ujima Collective, my partner, Mocha on Soho, my partner, and we're doing this together. And for me, it is extremely, extremely exciting. So the Reimagine We program, and I'm going to put some links in the chat so you don't have to remember this information, but the Reimagine We program is launching in February, on February the 26th. It's an evening. It's like in the middle of the week. It's like this midweek intensive. It'll be on Zoom. The space is limited to 20 people. And the reason I limit it is because I want everybody to be engaged. I want everybody to have that space. And I will hold that space for people to bring their whole selves into the conversation. And then the second one, the 12 months experiential learning program. As I mentioned, it's connecting that personal empowerment to this broader historical and personal journey of transformation and liberation towards cooperation. And this program is scheduled to start in March. So again, I'm going to I have a whole list of links and everything that I want to pop into the chat. And I'm going to wind down at this point so we can open it up for questions. This is my closing affirmation. We cannot build a new society with the same inner architecture that built the old one. I watched the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, speaking at the World Economic Forum very recently, and he made this statement: we are in the midst of a rupture, not simply a transition. And so what that translated into me, or we are certainly at the point of inflection. We are at this inflection point where we have to make choices. Do we choose extraction or do we choose cooperation? Do we choose fear or do we choose faith? Do we choose collapse or do we choose rebirth? And the turning point doesn't start in Congress nor the government. It starts in the consciousness of people on the ground. That's us, right? So every system that we want to change requires someone to cultivate change first within themselves. So it all begins with us. So the answer to the Cairo question, yes, he will have to protest and be a resistor because we're raising him up to be that. And in chapter 8 of Dr. Livingston's book on Black empowerment, the title of that chapter is The Power of We. And the whole entire chapter is dedicated to an interview with Dr. Angela Davis. So Dr. Livingston starts that chapter off by saying, in addition to the ways in which individuals can confront bias in their efforts to change the game, there's a bigger question of how people can stand together to collectively fight against systemic racism. And then Angela Davis makes this statement: throughout my life, throughout my political life, I've never been involved in any undertaking that was not collective. And I can never claim authorship of ideas and of strategies as an individual. It's always with others. And I think this is something that I learned when I was very young. So that's my courage. It's collective courage. It's not individual courage. So yes, again, Cairo will have to protest and resist, not as an individual, but as part of something bigger than himself, by joining the ranks of those who have been resisting for more than 400 years. So I'm going to take my list of links and pop it into the chat. And then I'd like to open up the floor for any questions, comments, concerns. Okay, I just popped it in the chat. I'm hoping everybody can see the list. Yes?
I don't see it yet.
Oh,
Let me see.
I only see one.
well, it's a whole list. It's like, yeah, it's a whole list. Shall I do it again?
Okay.
Yeah, try it again.
Okay, I'm on everyone. How about that?
Yep, it's there now.
Okay,
Is
cool.
that the place? Okay. Okay. Try.
Yeah, so some of it is just some information, a little bit more background information on who I am and things like that. So at this point, I'd like to open up the floor for any comments, questions, concerns. And I'm gonna stop sharing and just come back into the room.
Anita,
Yes.
with reference to the 6 keys to the transformation, you think knowing oneself or knowing yourself is perhaps the key of those 6 principles of transformation. You want to
Yeah,
elaborate?
absolutely. Absolutely. And the 6 keys, they're things like know yourself. So it's kind of like, how well do you even know yourself? And I talk a lot about people understanding their innermost thoughts, beliefs, and ideas, because we all have those thoughts, beliefs, and ideas about, ourselves, about, our neighbor, about, people that we don't know, and all of that. And so for me, and it's also rooted in my work as a personal transformation coach. And the experience that I've had in coaching people is that until you really, really have a handle on who you are as an individual, not what you project out there in the world, but your inner workings, right? Again, your thoughts, beliefs, and your ideas, and whatever those thoughts, beliefs, and ideas are, that is the source of what you're projecting out into the world in your words, your actions, and your behaviors. And so when I'm working with people and they come to that sense, one of the greatest moments for me when I'm working with people, and I'll say something and we'll have a conversation and they'll say, "Oh, I never thought about it like that." So that's a testimony to them being able to recognize, I've been thinking in this way over here, but then there's all this other stuff over here that maybe I haven't even considered, but I should consider. So for me, that's the real power of being human, is knowing who you are on a very deep and intimate level.
Absolutely. And I like what you said in terms of your grandson being taught as a learned behavior, how to resist, incorporating excellence at every key, going back to the ancestors of
Absolutely.
antiquity and building those great, great institutions, buildings, scholars, mathematics, and everything. How we just so much lost that we have to recapture that. And that's what I applaud the school in New York that he's going to, because, typically public school education is typically not teaching these kids to think, or parochial school education, as far as critical thinking skills. They think like robots. They can't. It's just, wow. He
Yeah.
is blessed. Grandmother and grandfather holding it down for him.
Yeah, he is
Absolutely.
definitely. I mean, I'm just amazed. As a matter of fact, I've talked to my daughter Olivia, and I would like to have, because the theme for this year's podcast is Reimagine We, and this whole idea of working cooperatively together. And I'm going to be putting out a call for guests. So we have a total of 22 episodes this year. And so I'm going to be putting out a call for guests, individuals that are doing this kind of work. And the Susulu Walker Charter School is one of the guests that I would like to have, because I'm just amazed at what they do. And because I can see it in my grandson, what they're doing in that educational system.
Can you put the address of that school in the chat?
Oh, I don't
If
know
you
what
have
it is. I
Okay,
can get
absolutely.
it. I
Oh,
can get it.
absolutely.
I don't. I just know it's in Harlem.
That's a
And
success story
I've
that
only been
perhaps
there.
we
I've
could
been there
connect with
like
those
one time.
young brothers and sisters, and perhaps do a virtual program with those young folks up there. And maybe they can
Absolutely.
collaborate with some of the young people down here, particularly, there's some potential there. We like
Yeah,
to see, but I mean,
absolutely.
absolutely. We need positive stories of folks doing not absolutely. I'm impressed with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Anita.
it's very well organized and very protective of the gems that they have in that space. That's what I like
Mhm.
about it too. So I think
Mhm.
someone else was getting ready to ask a
Yeah,
question.
it was I, Anita, as Gwen. Just thinking when you talk about your grandson, I just wonder what your thoughts are on what is facing this next generation because of everything that has been torn down or destroyed by this current regime. and what like our children and grandchildren are going to face in terms of having to recreate, build up, if we're going to have a democracy in this country, how these upcoming generations are going to be affected by this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a phenomenal question. And when I think about what you just said, because there are so many factors that are impacting children today that just weren't even on the radar screen when I was growing up, As an example, I saw a news report the other day of a little boy that was mistreated. This was a little boy, I want to say like maybe 6 or 7 years old, and he was in the middle of having an epileptic seizure, and the staff around him had no clue what they were supposed to be doing, and they ended up putting the little boy in the hospital because of the things that they did. Number one, I think it's yeah, autism. That's what I was trying to think of. I believe the little boy had autism, and he was also having a seizure, right? And one of the things that was on his IEP, with his individual education document, was for him not to have an iPad in his hand, because having that iPad triggers things for him. And so in the classroom, he had an iPad. He had an iPad, number one. And number two, when he was starting to have his seizure, these are individuals that know nothing to me about first aid, because they started giving him CPR. Like, you didn't even check to see if he has a heart rate. You're giving him CPR while his heart is already beating. So that's a problem, right? And I think because there's such a deterioration of what we're doing with our kids, right? And if we allow that to continue, we're going to just stay on this path where we are. So for me, when I think about how I was raised up, and probably how a lot of you were raised up, we didn't play when it comes to our parents. Our parents were very clear. Like, this is what you're allowed to do. This is what you're not allowed to do. We didn't have cell phones and iPads and all of that. Our thing was, our parents kicked us out, go outside and play. And we spent our time outside in the summertime all day long, playing, inventing stuff and making up games and doing this and doing that. So we were raised to be creative. We were raised to think on ourselves and like, let's make this game up. Well, what's the rules going to be? How are we going to do this? We did that. We did that. We didn't stay in the house. Kids are in the house, in their rooms, on their computers. And when computers first came on board, the warning was, don't let your kid be in your room on a computer by themselves. Now look where we are. And when you think about the advent of AI is encroaching everything. And so for me, it's about also parenting. What are parents doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Do you have the parental controls on?
No.
Right? And so that, I feel like when a child comes into this world, we are going, as the parents, we're going to be held responsible for how we are raising that child up. And I feel like today, in general, there's a very deeply rooted disrespect for young people. The things that I see adults doing to young people today is mind-boggling to me. And so when you look at that whole entire picture, if you're disturbed by any of this, you got to be looking at, what am I doing in my household with my children? Am I teaching them? Are they learning to think? Am I teaching them to be critical thinkers, or am I just putting stuff in front of this? And this is the last thing I will say in that regard. I saw an advertisement recently for an AI school. Total school online for elementary school children. So the idea is that your kid will be online for 3 hours. And then after that, they're just free to do whatever it is they want to do. Like, that's absurd to me. And so from a faith perspective, I also look at it as an insult to God, because God gave me all of these gifts that I have inside of me, all of these gifts and things that Cairo has inside of him, that Olivia has inside of her, that Hillary, all of these gifts that all of you have inside of you, they were gifted to us. And when we don't take care of them, humanity loses.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, or at least say, in today's world, our children are not seen as unique human beings. They're numbers. Boards of education are more concerned about test scores.
Absolutely.
And bottom line, that they are not planning to help these children. And it's quite scary to me that these kids don't have interpersonal skills.
Mm-hmm.
Their way of dealing with stuff is I smack you upside the head. And so they get kicked out of school, they lose that, and so you can't teach a child who isn't there, and there's no one there. We're not teaching them that their intellectual capacity is their power. When they can think and outthink others, even some adults, that they have found something in themselves that they can build on and hopefully pass it on to their peers.
Absolutely.
And I just cross my fingers every time I think about that. How do you identify your authentic self? You know, what is your lived experience that is dictating what your authentic self is looking like?
Absolutely.
And so I just, I mean, I just do what I can, but I'm just one person. I want everybody involved in this process as you are, because it's nothing more than a drop of water in the ocean.
Yes.
But I figure if we get enough drops, we might get a river, we might get a stream, and that leads into something larger. So I just needed to share that.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I'm in the same boat with you. I have the same sentiments. And I think so much of it is where we are now. And again, I've mentioned AI,
Right.
Where we are now. AI can be used as a tool, but if you allow AI to like rule your life, then, or, just being on social media and all of these things that are, to your point, you're not able to develop fully as a human being. And if you can't develop fully as a human being, critical self-reflection and personal transformation are foreign ideas to you.
Exactly. Scary ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't even want to approach it because you don't know what's on the other side.
And say, I can honestly say, I use ChatGPT. I love ChatGPT, but I am in control of ChatGPT. So the point that I'm making is when it starts to be like, I watch a TV show. This is like an example. I watch a TV show called 9/11, right? And it's these firefighters and all of that. Yes. And yesterday we watched an episode where, so if you know the show, there's the 911 professionals and everything. They do their thing, and they connect with the police and the fire department, and it's beautiful to watch how that system works. In a recent episode, they introduced something called Sarah. And Sarah was an AI generated thing that was supposed to help them. In the end, she was horrible. And I'm only saying she just because they named it Sarah. But it was it was a completely failed experiment, I should say. And one of the examples was there's a person that had called in that had injured himself, and he was bleeding from I think from the neck area. And so the AI Sarah says, well, do you have a towel near you? Can you get your hands on it? Oh, yeah, I have a towel. Okay, so wrap it around your neck and just keep pulling it tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And the guy was doing exactly, he almost killed himself. So the point being,
Exactly.
I don't care how much work, research, and all of that you put into artificial intelligence, it is not designed or should not be designed to replace people.
Yes.
And that's the scary part about it, is that when you look at things, because on this show, the guy was there and he's like, oh yeah, this is my product and this is going to, it's going to revolutionize and everything. And it almost killed people.
Well, that's already been happening in the healthcare system.
Absolutely.
They
Yes.
turn to AI to determine what kind of drugs you should get, what kind of x-rays you should get. And then more often than not, they say nothing. You don't need any of this. And it's like, in fact, I had a doctor years and years and years ago tell me, when you have to get health care, do not go with United Healthcare because they use AI not exclusively, but that's who they turn to in order to get their information about how to treat you. And
Yeah.
I just
Yeah. And you can't, bottom line is, we're human beings. We can't outcreate God. We just can't. We can't outcreate God.
Amen.
So are there any other questions? I do have a video that I'd like to wind out with.
Anita, let me just,
Okay.
Anita, I think I applaud your presentation. And I think you would agree that we should use every opportunity to try to decolonize the mindset of our people. And your presentation incorporates that whole thrust of decolonizing the mindset of our people, which has been so contaminated and brainwashed and indoctrinated with that Eurocentric poisonous value system, elaborate system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So are there any other questions or comments? I do have a video that I want to end everything with. It's a very short video. Any more questions? Okay, great. Then I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
What do you got, Negro amnesia? How did we get here? We've been through worse than this, faced harder challenges than Trump.
Reverend Al Sharpton is absolutely right. In 1619, the first Africans were brought to Virginia. By 1662, the law said if your mother was enslaved, you were too. Children born into slavery. Our Black ancestors built the wealth of this country with their bare hands. While many of them were beaten simply for just learning how to read, whipped for going after freedom. But even in chains, they built families, language, and faith that would never go away. 1776, America said all men are created equal, but not Blacks. 1787, the Constitution called us 3/5 of a person. We fought in the Revolution, hoping that meant freedom for us, but it didn't. By the 1800s, freedom papers were forged, rebellions rose, and in 1850, a new law said that people could capture a Black person even if they were free and claim that they were a runaway. 1863, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. 2 years later, slavery ended on paper, but prisons took its place. Reconstruction did give us Black schools, Black voters, Black leaders. But then came the white mobs and Jim Crow. 1896, Plessy versus Ferguson said that segregation was legal. 1919, Red Summer, Black neighborhoods burned down to the ground. 1921, Tulsa's Black Wall Street destroyed. Then the Civil Rights Movement, fire hoses turned on us. dogs unleashed on us, being spat on at sit-ins, and separated without equality. But then came 1954. Brown versus Board of Education said that schools could not be segregated. 1964, the Civil Rights Act. 1965, the Voting Rights Act. 1968, the Fair Housing Act. But those came because we wouldn't give up. We marched, we fought, we mobilized, we organized. But then the war on drugs and mass incarceration brought new change. But then came November 2008. This country elected its first Black president, Barack Obama. But even that historic election could not wipe out the racist history and systems of this country. In 2013, the Supreme Court weakened the Voting Rights Act. States shut down polling places and redrew maps to silence us. Then came Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. By 2021, Juneteenth was named a federal holiday. But now, present day, it's book bans, attacks on Black history, voting limits, and bans on DEI. Reverend Al Sharpton isn't telling us to sit down. He's actually reminding us to stand up, because every time they've tried to close a door, we have been known to just build another house. And no matter what doors they're trying to close now or in the future, it won't work. How's that for some Black history?
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and bring it back.
Thank you, Anita.
Absolutely. So I
Thank
thank
you
you
for
all
that.
for your attention. It felt really good to be in the presenter seat again. I haven't been in this seat in quite a while, but and I appreciate your comments and your questions and all of that. And my stuff is in the chat. Just reach out to me if you have any other questions or comments, or you want to know more about my work and all of that. I'm just an email away.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you for that powerful presentation. And I overlooked one thing in the business meeting. Let me just say this before anyone leaves. St. Matthew's AME Zion Church, 345 Thorn Street in Sewickley, PA, will sponsor a free all-you-can-eat pancake breakfast every Saturday during Black History Month from 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's at Sewickley, St. Matthew's AME Church, 345 Thorn Street in Sewickley. You might want to go there, then actually go to the Tuskegee Airmen Outdoor Memorial, which is the largest one outside of Tuskegee, Alabama, on a particular Saturday. That's every Saturday during Black History Month, a free pancake breakfast. And our branch has participated in those breakfasts in the past, which have been outstanding. They're free. You make a donation if you want to, and sitting back, just kicking it in terms of spreading Black history. And that is an Underground Railroad site that we're targeting to partner with St. Matthew's AME Zion Church as far as in the network to freedom. So that's every Saturday. That's 345 Thorn Street, Sewickley. And when you tour, you might want to go visit the Sewickley Cemetery for the largest outdoor memorial for the Tuskegee Airmen in the country. And that concludes our remarks. Sister, you just were holding it down, and I appreciate your level of scholarship, your engagement, your sensitivity to our history, and come back. And we have a lot of things going. I want everyone to come out for February the 7th. We'll be in the community. United Black Book Clubs of Pittsburgh. We'll be hosting that program. So come out with your literary works, your poems, your essays. The Mackenzie branch is hosting that. That will be from 1 to 3 p.m. That's at the Homeward Rushton Library, Carnegie Library. And also our next program will be the Doctrine of Discovery. So Betty and everyone on this call, try to encourage at least 10 people, because this is a subject that most folks do not know about. And Mackenzie branch is going to bring it to you by one of the best scholars that's out. The Doctrine of Discovery is the position why we are in the present state that we are in this country now. That goes back. I don't want to talk too much about it because I want to sort of whet your appetite, but you want to come out on February the 14th before our program in the evening with Madeline, where our branch is being honored. 11:30, February the 14th, the Doctrine of Discovery. and that'll be with Dr. Jonathan Taylor. And you don't want to miss that. Please bring, particularly our young people, if you can bring a class, if you can bring some older people, younger people, all walks of people, because we need to know that. And typically, many schools are not even teaching. You go to graduate courses in history, they say, well, what's the doctrine? What is that wrong? Some of these folks got PhDs and MEDs and they don't even they don't know what you're talking about. You say the doctrine of discovery. That became the basis, the foundational basis as to why we are in this country today and why all colored peoples in the world were colonized. And we need to know that. It was only repudiated in 2022. But anyway, I won't say any more about that. We'll let the scholarship, we'll let the flow and everything and engage. I see we just, again, thank you for coming. Our branch is engaged in programs of substance and the other thing, our Negro Mountain signs are still in the fabrications. Nothing to report on that. As far as Woodville, they're closed for the season. Nothing to report on that. And again, we might want to set up a car. I'm looking at the last February. This is just tentatively in my mind for maybe a car caravan to Sewickley, to the church, St. Matthew's AME Zion Church. We might be thinking about that in my mind. I think my wife asked me where we going, 345 Thorn Street, and maybe 20 or 15 cars can follow us to, it's not final. I'm just thinking about it in my mind, because our advisory council in Penn Hills, we have a Red Tails initiative. So that all circles around the Tuskegee Airmen. Those are the painted tails of the famous P-51 planes they flew. So again, there'll be a flyer coming out on the pancake breakfast too. We participated in before. I think Alexis has drawn up beautiful flyers. Like everything she does is actually immaculate and spot on. And we've had flyers in the past on that pancake breakfast. And again, February 7th is our next program. Madeline's program, our program, January the 31st. I know Betty's volunteering. We have other folks volunteering to be there. That's from 1 to 4. Come on out. It's an open house. Come on out. You sit for 20 minutes, sit for 30, sit for 3 hours with us. Martha's going to be presenting. Alana's going to give an overview on our branch history. And, you want to buy those tickets also to support our branches. We're being honored by the Greater Pittsburgh chapter, the National Council of Negro Women. It goes back to 1936 with Sister Mary McDowell Bethune. So there's some deep connections there. So we're doing it. You won't find perfection in any organization, but we try to do the right thing. We do it with our spirit and heart, and we pull everything into it. So be appreciative of that. And you folks that don't have a membership out there, please consider joining the Dr. Edna B. McKenzie branch of ASALH, not for membership, but for the ASALH experience. So what we are not trying to sell you, we're selling you on the experience. Be part of that movement that goes back to 1915. How special was that? How special is that to be connected with an organization, which is the oldest in the world? Not too many of us can say that. So let's try to re-up, renew, re-energize, reinvigorate, and come back full speed ahead. I mean, 2026 looks like Betty and everyone else, we feel like we have a really good year to start off. I mean, all these programs are going to be involved in. We definitely want to involve more of our young people in programs, and we have further collaborations, and we can talk. So again, if you have questions, if you have any ideas on programs or anything, contact any one of the executive board, any member. Are there any other questions? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. 12:52. I'm sorry.
Okay. Mr. Saunders, can you put up, or can someone put in the chat again about the Council of Negro Women, the dinner where ASALH is being honored, and how we buy tickets?
Madeline, Tammy, okay, Tammy, that will be February the 14th. And you can put that in the chat. Madeline, the flyer's not out yet, right? But that is February the 14th at the Rivers Club.
Okay.
From 6 to 10. And can we buy tickets from you, Madeline? Oh, Madeline's not here. She had to jump off into her Greater Pittsburgh meeting. But I know it's from 6 to 10 at the Rivers Club.
I'm back.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes, and a few tickets from me. I
Okay.
think you had a copy of the I have the flyer, but I don't know how to put the flyer in the chat.
If you send, can you send it to maybe Tammy or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Madeline, you can just send it to me. I can do that.
Okay. Okay.
Here's the school from Harlem. That's great.
Yeah, I just popped it in there. I found their website. It's called the Sisulu Walker Charter School, and the link to their website is there.
Good, good. Making them feel important every day of their life from the time they hit that school, that you are somebody, that you have importance as a person. They don't have any mystery about who they are or what they come from. And that's good, Nita. That's good. And bless. I wish all our kids would get that.